Before you consciously decide anything, your mind has already reacted to. And this reaction is not random, it is emotional, it is protective, and it is revealing. Because the unconscious does not choose what looks good, it chooses what feels safe. This is how the human psyche actually works. Long before logic steps in, something inside you quietly recognizes itself and responds without words, without effort, without explanation. And that is why simple choices expose more than complex questions ever could. The object you are about to choose is not important because of its function, it is important because of what your mind projects onto it. And according to analytical psychology, especially the work of Carl Jung, we are constantly projecting inner states onto external symbols, colors, shapes, textures, and forms. Act like mirrors reflecting emotional needs. We are not consciously aware of coffee itself is not just a drink, it is a psychological anchor across cultures. It represents comfort, routine, control, reflection, and emotional grounding. It appears in moments of solitude, deep conversation, stress, calm, and repetition. Over time, the mind associates coffee with safety, familiarity, emotional regulation, and escape, and the cup that holds it becomes an extension of that emotional experience. When you choose a cup, you are not choosing a design, you are choosing how you want to feel, and more importantly, what you are trying to protect inside yourself right now. This test is not about personality labels. It is about emotional defense mechanisms, the subtle strategies the psyche uses to stay stable when something feels uncertain, unresolved, or overwhelming. And this is why you must not analyze the cups. Do not think about price, aesthetics, logic, or practicality if you are overthinking that. Hesitation itself is part of the answer. Instead, allow your attention to settle naturally. Notice which cup pulls you first, not which one you prefer, but which one feels familiar, safe, or strangely uncomfortable. The unconscious always reveals itself through attraction and avoidance, and in front of you are 4 coffee cups, each representing a different emotional survival strategy. Not who you are forever, but what part of you is currently active, protecting, regulating, or compensating something within you. There is no right choice and no wrong choice, because each one reflects a necessary psychological function: clarity, memory, strength, intuition, control, attachment, endurance, sensitivity. But whichever cup you feel drawn to reveals what your inner world is prioritizing at this stage of your life. And before we go any further, understand this clearly. This test may surface things you have ignored, rationalized, or quietly carried without naming them. That does not mean something is wrong with you. It means something inside you wants to be seen. Awareness is not judgment, it is recognition, and recognition is where integration begins. Many people avoid this moment because it removes comforting illusions and replaces them with emotional truth. But emotional truth is not dangerous, it is liberating. If this kind of psychological exploration resonates with you, if you find yourself drawn to understanding why you feel the way you do, rather than escaping it, then staying with this video matters, because these symbolic tests are not entertainment. They are mirrors, and mirrors only work if you are willing to look. Now take a breath, relax your focus, and let your intuition respond. The cup you choose will not flatter you, it will reflect you, and that reflection may explain patterns in your emotions, relationships, decisions, and inner tension that logic alone never could. Once your choice feels clear, hold on to it, because what comes next is not interpretation, it is exposure. And we begin with the first cup. If your attention was drawn to the first cup, your psyche is currently prioritizing clarity, structure, and emotional regulation. Not because you enjoy control for its own sake, but because at some point, disorder, uncertainty, or emotional unpredictability made you feel unsafe, and your mind learned that staying composed was the best way to survive. This choice often belongs to people who appear calm, reliable, and grounded on the surface. People who think before reacting and analyze before expressing emotion. You value logic because logic feels clean, manageable, and predictable. Emotions, on the other hand, feel messy, and once upon a time mess came with consequences. So you learned to organize your inner world carefully. You don't lose yourself easily, you don't panic publicly, and you don't allow emotions to hijack your behavior. Others may see you as emotionally mature, even unshakable, but here is the part most people never see. Your stability comes from constant self-regulation. You are always monitoring, adjusting, holding yourself together, and while that gives you strength, it also creates distance. You don't suppress emotions because you don't feel them. You suppress them because letting go once felt dangerous. This cup reflects emotional discipline, but also emotional restraint. You handle pressure well, but you rarely allow yourself to fall apart even in safe spaces. You may struggle to ask for help, because needing help conflicts with the identity you built, the identity of someone who stays steady when others can't. Over time, this creates a quiet exhaustion, not burnout, but emotional fatigue, the kind that comes from always being composed. Psychologically, this cup reveals a coping pattern where control became synonymous with safety. You don't crave chaos, you crave peace, but peace and control are not the same thing. Peace allows softness, control demands vigilance. Your psyche may be signaling that while clarity protects you, it no longer fully nourishes you, and growth now requires allowing emotion to exist without immediately organizing it. Then we move to the second cup, and the energy shifts completely. If this cup felt familiar, your inner world is deeply connected to memory, emotion, and meaning. You don't experience life lightly. You absorb it. Moments linger, words stay, relationships imprint themselves on you emotionally, and even when you move forward, something inside you continues to carry what mattered. You are drawn to what feels real, not perfect, and this choice often belongs to people who value emotional authenticity over surface stability. You feel deeply, sometimes more than you show, and because of that you form strong emotional bonds. Memories are not just recollections for you, they are emotional landscapes. You revisit them not because you are weak, but because they once made you feel connected, alive, or understood. Your strength is empathy. You sense emotional undercurrents others miss. You notice tone shifts, silence, pauses, unspoken sadness. People often feel seen around you even when you say very little, but here is the tension. This cup reveals because you honor emotion so deeply, letting go becomes difficult. You may replay conversations, hold on to people longer than they stay, or revisit past versions of yourself when the present feels uncertain. Nostalgia can become a refuge, a place where emotion feels familiar even if it limits growth. This doesn't mean you are stuck in the past. It means the past still feels emotionally safer than the unknown. Sometimes you don't miss the person, you miss who you were when they were there. Psychologically, this cup reflects emotional attachment as a survival strategy. You anchor yourself through connection and meaning, but when those connections shift or fade, you can feel ungrounded, heavy, or quietly sad without knowing exactly why. In relationships, you offer warmth, loyalty, and presence. You remember details others forget. You care in ways that are consistent and sincere, but you may struggle when others move on more easily than you do, leaving you feeling emotionally behind, unseen, or replaced. Your psyche is not asking you to erase the past, it is asking you to reorganize. Memory does not need to anchor you, it can support you if you allow yourself to release what no longer serves your present. And as we move forward, the next cup steps away from memory and into something more intense, where strength, endurance, and the shadow take center stage. If you were drawn to the third cup, your psyche is currently organized around strength, endurance, and self-reliance, not as a personality trait, but as an emotional survival strategy. You did not choose this cup because it feels comfortable. You chose it because it feels familiar. You have learned consciously or unconsciously that depending on others is unreliable or risky. So you learned to depend on yourself. You endure, you adapt, and you move forward even when things feel heavy inside. In psychology, this cup strongly connects to the shadow, not because there is something dark or wrong within you, but because parts of you learned to stay hidden, to remain functional. You are aware of your anger, frustration, intensity, and emotional fire, but you keep them contained. You don't explode, you don't dramatize. You carry it quietly. This gives you resilience and determination. But it also creates isolation. You don't fear weakness, you fear exposure, being seen when you are not in control. Emotional intimacy may feel like a loss of power rather than safety, so you keep distance even from those who care about you. Here is the mirror. This cup holds your independence, protects you, but it also prevents you from being fully known, suppressed. Emotion does not disappear, it accumulates. It surfaces as restlessness, emotional distance, or a sense that something inside you is never fully at ease. Your psyche is not asking you to give up strength, it is asking you to soften without losing it. Then we move to the fourth cup, and the energy shifts again. If this cup spoke to you, your inner world is guided by intuition, sensitivity, and emotional perception. You feel before you understand and sense before you decide. Moods, atmospheres, and unspoken emotions registered deeply within you. This choice often belongs to people who trust their inner voice, even when logic cannot explain it. Your emotional openness allows deep compassion, creativity, and connection, but it also comes with vulnerability, because you absorb more than you realize. Other people's emotions linger within you long after interactions end. Emotional boundaries can blur, leaving you drained, overwhelmed, or emotionally heavy. Without a clear cause, you may retreat inward, not because you don't care, but because caring costs you deeply. There is often a quiet fear beneath this sensitivity, a fear of being too much, too intense, or misunderstood. So you hesitate to fully express your needs. Psychologically, this cup represents attunement, not fragility. Your psyche is asking you to protect your sensitivity rather than abandon it. Now, step back and look at all four cups together. None of them describe a fixed identity. They describe inner states seeking balance, clarity, memory, strength, intuition, control, attachment, endurance, sensitivity. According to Carl Jung, growth does not come from choosing one and rejecting the others. It comes from integration. Control without emotion becomes emptiness. Emotion without release becomes heaviness. Strength without softness becomes isolation. Sensitivity without boundaries becomes exhaustion. The cup you chose reveals which energy is currently dominating your inner world, but wholeness emerges when you allow the others to exist alongside it. Awareness is not judgment, it is recognition, and recognition is where change begins. If you find yourself returning to this choice in your thoughts, that is not coincidence. Symbols linger. When they touch something unresolved or meaningful, your inner world is not static, it evolves. Today's choice may not be tomorrow's, and that is a sign of growth, not inconsistency. If this reflection resonated with you, share your chosen cup in the comments. Expression deepens awareness, and if you wish to continue exploring the hidden language of symbols, psychology, and self-understanding, you are welcome to explore more tests on this channel. Sometimes a simple choice is all it takes to begin a deeper conversation with yourself.